Hi folks, I'm Craig Taylor, and as always a huge thanks for joining me here on my YouTube channel, the Bushcraft Padawan, and thanks for joining me in this week's Thursday's Thought. How did this all start? How did this all happen? How did we get here? I'm not talking about diving into some deep theological question. I'm not talking about looking for the answer to life, the universe and everything, because we clearly know that that's 42. I'm talking about how did you get into this whole bushcrafting, outdoorsy type thing? Remember, we all call it different things, but essentially we're kind of talking about the same thing. How did we all get into this? What got us started? I've been thinking about that a lot recently. For me, my story started when I was knee-high to a grasshopper. For as long as I can remember, I was always playing outdoors, in the woods, making dens, making tree houses, making traps, playing soldiers, playing war with my friends, that type of thing. I then grew up and joined the army and did that for a living, making dens in the woods, playing soldiers, playing war with my friends, that type of thing. So it went from being fun to being a job. Clearly, when you're in the army, you spend a lot of time outdoors, either training or on operations or on courses, that type of thing. I spent a lot of time outdoors in this country, in other countries, in this climate, in other climates. Sometimes it was work related, sometimes it was fun related, because I gained a lot of climbing and mountaineering qualifications whilst I was in the army, and that allowed me to participate in and sometimes lead climbing and mountaineering expeditions overseas. So I've spent a lot of time during that time in the army outdoors. And then in 2006 I left the army. I got out. I became a desk jockey. I got a desk job. And I never really looked back. I never really thought that I was missing the outdoors. I'd go outdoors, I'd spend time outdoors, but I never hankered after it. I never felt like I was missing it as such. And then I had kids, and they were babies, and they became toddlers, and they started going out into the woods, and they started asking questions. And I got a real buzz when I was able to show them something in the woods, when I was able to answer their questions, when I was able to satisfy that incredible curiosity that you have at that age. And I became, worried's not the word, but I disappointed myself when I couldn't show them things, when I didn't have answers to questions, when I couldn't satisfy that fantastic curiosity that they have. So I started going online and I started sort of researching some of the questions they were asking me. And they led me to that word that we've all come to know and love, bushcraft. And once I'd found that word, that led me to discover people like Paul Kirtley, Mike McQuilton, I think it's Mike McQuilton, Dave Canterbury, Joe Robinette, those people that were overtly doing bushcrafty type things online. That led to where I am today. That was kind of the catalyst. That was my journey to what I'm doing today. I guess it was all to impress a 6 and a 4-year-old. It was all to give my children something that I couldn't give them the answers to, but really wanted to. And I must admit that my kind of personal interest has now overtaken their curiosity, and I do this now because I enjoy it. So I guess you could say it went from, if I take it from my childhood, it went from being fun to being a job, to not doing it at all, to doing it for fun again. And that's where I am today. So that's kind of my potted history into how I got into this whole bushcrafting thing. But what about you? What was your journey? Was it similar to mine? Have you always done it for fun, from knee-high to a grasshopper? Perhaps you're brought up in an outdoors type family, maybe a rural community, maybe a farming community, maybe a hunting sort of community. What was your progression? Have you come to this late in life? Have you always sort of been a desk jockey type person, or have you always been involved in pursuits and hobbies that have not been outdoors related, and you've discovered this later in life? Maybe like me, you did it as a job and you moved away from that, and now you're rediscovering it later. I read each and every comment that you leave to these Thursday's Thought videos. They're really enlightening. Every single one of them brings a facet to understanding people that I don't have if you don't answer. So I'm looking forward to reading your comments below. As always, a huge thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you again very shortly. Cheers.